Welcome back to just another solar podcast with Luke Beattie. That's me, Karl Jensen. G'day, Karl.
That's me. Hey, Luke, I hear that you've had another week of 45-degree weather. Go on, give us a rundown. Are you okay?
I'm okay. It's pretty normal for us, but the record of over 40-degree days in February since records began in Perth is 4 days, and we're on track to double that to 8 days by the end of the month, possibly more. It's insane.
Absolutely bonkers.
And
Bonkers.
Nigel Morris, of course, industry legend. G'day, mate.
G'day, fellas. Good to be back.
Yeah, well, there's so much news this last fortnight. I mean, the worst kept secret in the last week was that Q-cells were going to pull out of the market. I don't know about you guys, but late last week there was a flurry of phone calls and messages and all the grapevine was firing up. And there was speculation that Q-cells were leaving. Then it was confirmed by people. Employees weren't meant to say anything, but I like to say our industry is a leaky sieve. Everyone found out by the time the official news broke. Yeah. But Q-cells are pulling their products out of the market. So they're panels, inverters and batteries, but they will be remaining as the owner of Nectar, who does financing. What's your take on it, guys?
Well, it just so happens that I spoke to Ian Lilly, who's the CEO at Zico, and I rang him to congratulate him on picking up the warranty obligations and so on for Q-cells.
Yeah.
And he said, it would have been nice if they had have asked him.
Ooh. Okay. Okay.
He was obviously looking after their battery inverters, and he has a little service center there with some technicians that take things apart and repair them and put them back together again. So that made absolute sense for him to be the right guy. But I'm not sure how that's going to work with panels if no one's sort of contracted to carry stock and put anything in a warehouse for a rainy day.
Yeah, it's always a tough one when someone exits, and it's not our first exit. It won't be our last exit, I'm sure, from a big name or a small name for that matter. I spoke to a couple of people I know there and sort of probed a little bit for what was behind it, and they said, look, it's just the price pressure in the market is just out of hand, and everything that we can see coming down the pipeline is just making it worse. And as we talked about last episode, actually, you look at what the price of a solar system is in the US, for example, or Europe, for example, where it's 3 to 4 times the price per kilowatt that it is here in Australia. And you can understand manufacturers, and I went through this in the old days when I was at BP, where they look around the world when they're operating globally and they go, what are we doing down there? Why are we selling it 20 cents a watt in Australia when we can sell it, 40 or 50 cents a watt somewhere else, or, so you can kind of understand it, but it's a real blow to the market because Q-cells have been here for a long time, invested a lot. So, yeah, sad day.
All while their market share in the US is growing, and they've decided Australia's not the market for them. So we've seen in recent years LG, who are a premium producer of solar panels, pull out SolarWatt, Q-cells now. And you wonder how much pressure there is at that premium end, because rewind 10 years ago, and there was an enormous gap from the premium producers compared to the bottom end. When you look at the entry to mid-range panels now, the gap is much, much smaller.
I reckon we should invite our guest. So one of the people who loves posting on social media, loves posting his great high-quality work and stuff that creates a whole lot of comment and a whole lot of interest on the online forum. So he's not unlike myself. Luke Spicer, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, guys. Yeah, I don't know if I'm that well known as you, Karl, but you'll sort of stay out of that rabbit hole for now. But glad to be here, guys.
Well, I reckon we should hear your opinion, Luke. At the end of the day, I think you're in the premium space of the market. You sell premium gear. So tell us about that end of the game, and why do you think Q-cells didn't have a place?
Look, it's a shame to see them go. It's always good to have, I'd say, sort of good middle range products in the market to compete with. I wouldn't say Q-cells was a top end range. It was a good product. It definitely wasn't the worst, but the race to the bottom is just happening. And why should they stay here when they can make money elsewhere? The Australian market's probably a drip in the bucket for them, that they sort of think, well, we've tried our best. We've done our best to offer a good product and good service in the market, but the Australians just want to go cheaper and cheaper, and it's not for them. it's very similar to how I've sort of always operated on my business, is to say, well, I'd rather offer a better quality product to our clients to be happier with their installs, their longevity, their warranties, their support, and it helps me as a company with a reputation to say, well, we've done all the right things and offered the good products. They're not falling apart. We're not chasing warranties. We're not changing ABNs constantly or anything like that. There's going to be more to come. I definitely think that unless Australia pulls their pants up and starts realising they've got to pay for quality, that the slaughterhouse has just sort of begun, I think.
We're going to dive more into a bit more intimate stuff about your business shortly, mate. But your comments are interesting because the one thing that I've always liked about big brands, big global brands, and it's the one piece of good news out of this very sad announcement, perhaps, is that they were very adamant that they've got the support networks in place. Warranties are going to be supported. They've got a global brand that they're going to maintain, so they can't just, abandon everything and walk away. And that's the one piece of good news out of this, I guess, that is landing for consumers and installers indeed as well. I do wonder where we're going if we lose too many of those big brands who've got global pressure on them to do the right thing, and we end up with a whole lot of brands that don't have that pressure. That's a very sad place to be.
Indeed, and when they had the issue with the bad backsheets of modules that were 10 years old, 5 years down the line, they failed. Qcells was one of the manufacturers that would arrange freight to pick up the panels, send them to Adelaide, where they were half recycled, as we talked with Anthony from Lotus about recycling. Recycling. We took the frames off them and the leads are off them, but other than that, at least they thought that they were doing the right thing.
Yeah.
And they paid for the freight and all of that stuff, which, of course, most of the other module manufacturers didn't.
Why don't we dive in a little bit then, because we've got Luke on, and I had the pleasure of dropping out and seeing Luke recently. A pleasant surprise to find a solar carport out the front of his shop out in Western Sydney. I didn't take the bike that day, but I could have charged the bike up, and Luke was telling me a bit about the fact that that's a great magnet for him. So, Luke, why don't we start with your business, Skyline Solar? Give us the short version. You've been around a long, long time, and it's great to have someone on the show who has been around a long time, because I know we've got a lot of listeners who are perhaps not as haven't been in the business for as long as you. Tell us the short version of your backstory.
Previous working history was a large retail company, and years ago the GFC affected that, and I was looking for something different. And a mate of mine, he was the installer. He was installing the massive 1.5 kilowatts at the time, and so I got on the roof with him. He needed some help, so I got on the roof and just started installing with him. And then after a while, we sort of looked at what was being offered out in the market, what we were installing for these other companies, and we knew there was better brands. Sometimes we'd be installing the old SMAs and some Suntechs and that. So we thought, well, why don't we go into selling? So we started up selling and installing their own gear, started up Skyline Solar, the retail part of the install company, and that sort of kicked off. And then, long story short, my business partner, he ended up with stomach cancer and passed away. So I went on and kept running the business to where it is today. And I guess it was just a lot of trial and error as to seeing what was the good brands, what was the not good brands, what were the good installs, not good installs, as to, it was a big learning curve to constantly progress and get to where I am.
So we're all a bit spoilt, Luke, because, of course, you only post your best jobs to the internet, which are all bloody fantastic, and all the right principles that Luke, Nigel and I talk about, filling up the roof. We see installs where the roof's absolutely full, and you think, how the hell did he get the panels up there? What's your secret to getting guys to do that kind of work? Because we know that it's harder when you want to do the job properly. It's harder.
Look, I guess I've always tried to build a good relationship with the boys that do the installs. I never really try to tell them how to do their job, but I always ask them, can it be done better? If this is done one way, how can we make it look better, be better? And so I guess they want to do that as well. I'm lucky that we've got some good teams. I mean, we've been through some terrible teams, installers that you just think, oh, mate, I don't know how you got your license, that they don't last a minute. So it's been a bit of trial and error, but I guess making sure that everybody's making money across the board, if they need extra out of the job, they'll talk to me and we'll make it happen. At the end of the day, everybody's got to make money. In the same breath, I've always given credit where credit's due. Boys are always the one doing the hard work, and I'm the one that sort of is there to design it and make sure it looks good and the customer's happy, and that's how it's just sort of always worked out. So we've had some good relationships that's still going. Some of our installers are still with us after 8 years. I think we've got one of them still going, and wow. It's convenience. It's paying them regularly. Making sure their invoices are paid, and as long as everything's running as it should, and everybody's getting their bit out of it, then everybody's happy.
Is that the secret, mate? Because the thing that strikes me when you look, and I was doing some numbers on this the other day, it's years since I've sort of really had a crack and gone, right, how many solar companies are there? How big are they? How many big ones are there? How many medium ones are there? How many small ones are there? And, we've got this enormous market with a big long tail of small number of large companies, large number of small and medium companies. And, for a small, you're a sort of small, medium-sized company, you've somehow managed to fight your way through the solar coaster for more than 15 years. Is it down to those basic things for you where it's, paying your bills on time, making sure everyone's making a bit of money? Is that the secret to your success of surviving? Because I know there's a lot of people out there who are in the same boat, right? Probably very few of the large solar companies listen to the show, but a lot of small and medium guys listen. And, that is a really challenging space under all this competition. How have you done that?
Can I jump in there? Last week, G-Store filed for administration. Well-known business, high-quality gear, high-quality installers. The rumour on the vine is that the owner is suffering from a medical condition and basically wanted to wrap the business up. It's really hard to run any kind of business, and the solar coaster hits pretty hard. I'm guessing there's a few installers there that are owed a lot of money.
That's a shame, because at the end of the day, the boys doing the hard work are the ones getting ripped off. Going back to Nigel's, what's the secret? I like a good-sized company that I can manage. We all like a bit of growth on income. But at the same time, to this day, I still don't have an overdraft on my business. I still don't have any debt that we can't sort out. If we did close the doors tomorrow, everybody would be paid in full. There'd be no debtors or anybody chasing us for money. That's the way I've always run my business. Is I grew up being drilled into my head, if you can't afford it, you can't have it. And it's sort of the way I've always lived my life. I guess that's a bit of a key to my success, is that I've seen the hard times. I mean, back in, 2014, 2015, when the 20 cent dropped out and it went to the net tariff, nobody bought solar. Nobody was interested. We would sell, I think there was one period there I got excited over a 3 kilowatt system we sold. It was the first sale in 2 weeks. We were married, we had a mortgage, we had a kid, and we were literally eating rice for dinner going, let's splurge tonight and eat the saffron rice. It was, times are tough, but we sort of knuckled down to get through it, to go, okay, well, this is the sort of choice of business we've made. I had faith it would pick up. I guess, again, my background is I've always got a bit of a long haul theory, is that I'm not here just for a quick buck and a quick turnover. I want to make something. I want to leave a little bit of a legacy to say, yep, top company that I've had, and not have people disgruntled going, he owes me millions or he owes me hundreds of thousands.
I think it's good that you know where the business stands. I think that sometimes that's been a problem with businesses, that, it's tradies made good. They've grown to a certain point. They may still be on the tools or building sales teams, juggling accounts. We know the story where quite often the partner or the spouse is doing accounts. And I suppose it gets to a point where a lot of these businesses don't know whether they're solvent or not. There's so much credit, cash coming here, cash going there, and they don't keep strict financials and P&Ls like, some of the larger companies do. So some of these companies may be operating insolvent for a long period of time before they actually realise.
We strictly manage our stock. We strictly manage our finances. We strictly manage everything. My wife, she does all the books. She works with me. She became a certified bookkeeper just to make sure that everything was being tracked right. And we still have another bookkeeper oversee everything that we do. I do hear a lot of other companies sort of not knowing where they're at with things, or installers out there selling systems thinking, oh, well, because I'm on the tools, I can sell a system and I'll just make lots of money. But this is all hindering the race to the bottom. We're retailers, we do our retailing good. I don't try to jump on a roof anymore and install. It's been way too long. And, I leave that to the pros, and that's what the boys do. They do their job well. And we're the retailer, designer, we do our job well. And so that helps us still be here today.
Nice. So, tight, simple, not too ambitious. Keep everything under control. Don't go into too much debt. It's a nice story. If you look back over the last 15 or so years that you've been out there, Luke, batting away, what's the single biggest challenge you've had in that time? Was it the change in rebates that you mentioned earlier, or was there something else? What's the one thing that comes to mind that you went, oof, this could be it?
Mate, it's the Cowboys and the race to the bottom. As soon as you see more companies pop up and then they start offering stuff out super cheap, it's alarm bells ringing, and you just go, oh, this is going to hurt for a while, because you know that the customers are shopping around. They don't quite understand it. They see the cheap prices. So then you'll spend, months just educating the public on what you're not getting when you're trying to get the cheapest price out there. So that's always the big fear.
I'll jump in there, Luke. So you're well known for doing high quality installs, including things like the Tesla Powerwall. Whilst there's other guys out there selling the Alpha, that's the cheapest thing in the market. We're calling the Powerwall the benchmark. Is it really that hard to sell a quality product like a Powerwall versus someone offering a cheap thing like an Alpha? Is it a tough sell for you, or give us the lowdown?
Apologies to Alpha if you're listening.
Oh, look, there's no getting past it. I'm not saying that they're good or bad. I'm just saying that one's the cheapest and one's
I think that's what you just said, but that's okay.
Yeah,
You're right. You're right. There's always a range of products in a market, right? And this is really the biggest part of the channel. I got to give a presentation in a few weeks at Smart Energy about business and growth, right? And I was looking back into my business coaching days and looking back at thinking about the history of this and going, what are all the keys and the elements to building a successful business, and how do you create that differentiation, and how do you sell? It's a really good question. How do you sell a Tesla instead of as Karl put it, a cheap, crappy Alpha?
It's one thing that I do get asked quite a lot, especially by our sales team when we're training up new sales stuff. And the one thing that I say to them is, look, I don't sell our products. I don't sell Tesla Powerwalls. I don't sell solar. I let people buy it from us. We offer the product. We design the systems. We have the range, and we advise them on what we're capable of doing. We leave it to them to make the choice to buy from us. Everybody out there in the market is now selling Tesla, and there's people going cheaper, just to try to sell more and more and more of them. But not everybody's out there just wanting the best deal. People want to buy from a reputable company that's tangible. They can walk into the showroom. They've got somebody they can talk to. It's a point of call they can go to. And that's a lot of our market is they're more educated. They're happy to pay our price because they know the benefits they get from the company behind the product that's selling.
Is what you're telling me then that the part of the art of making your business successful is finding the right customer?
It's more hoping that the right customer finds us.
Right.
There's a lot of range of buyers in the market, and not everybody's our customer. For every sale that we get, there's 15 that we don't get. There are people out there that just want cheap, but we get a lot of calls to say, hey, listen, the company that I went with packed up, I can't get any calls or help from them. Can you help me? So the amount of orphan Tesla Powerwall systems out there that we've taken over is massive. We've had to go reinstall some systems for them. And then they start to see the benefits, and then the referrals come from that. So I think we just sort of worked out the other day, in the past 2 years, 85% of our sales have come from referrals. Which
referrals, they're so good, right? They're so good.
They're golden because then they know that you've come from, a good spot. They've already got a good point in their head to say, well, so-and-so was happy with you. We get a lot of referrals from people who say to their mates, we didn't go with Skyline Solar. We wish we had, because our company was disastrous. Go talk to them. They will look after you. So we get a lot of that sort of stuff as well. We never do high pressure sales. We never do the tactics of buy, or chase. It's all about, look, if you want to become a part of the Skyline Solar family, then this is what it involves. We've got one customer, mate, I reckon he's probably going to leave us something in his will. We installed his Tesla Powerwall the first, it was probably the second or third Powerwall we did. Lovely older bloke. And just, he wanted somebody who he could always contact, any questions. Through him, we sold to 5 family members, solar, some batteries. And to this day, he still calls up, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, how you going, how's Kylie? Like he's a family member. And he's got questions here and there, and we're always there to answer them. That sort of, to me, is the relationship that I always want to have with my customers, to be able to say, look, down the track, you can call me. And he was 8 years ago, I think it was by now, that we did his system, 2015. 9 years ago. It sort of makes me happy to go, well, I've built a good business, good reputation, and I'm here to still look after them 9 years later if they've got any questions. And we've added more solar to his house, et cetera. So that's the sort of clientele that we have out there that like to buy from us.
Beautiful. Mate, if you could go back in time, when you were starting out all those years ago, and you could front yourself and say, listen, idiot, you got this big thing in front of you. You're going to try and build this solar business. You're going to be off for the next 10 or 15 years. Here are the 3 most valuable things that you need to know to build this business over the next 10 or 15 years. What would those 3 things be? What would you tell young Luke?
I don't know. That's a bit of a hard one. Go buy a Tesla share, and just the first Tesla share. You should be right for the rest of your life on one Tesla share. Maybe, or buy a ride-on lawnmower and just go do acreage mowing and forget the solar industry.
I was thinking thermomixers door to door.
Thermomixers.
If you ever wanted to get out, you're charging $2,500 for a $300 appliance.
Yeah, I know. It's awesome. My wife did fall into that trap.
They're actually really cool.
Don't know if anyone saw it, but there was a guy in Canada who managed to get the right paper and printed $250 million. He got caught with one, and they said, "Oh, well, we're going to put you away for life." And he says, "What about the other 200 million I've got? Do you reckon that might change my deal?" And they said, "Okay, well, if you give us the 200 million that you've counterfeited back, then basically going to do 6 weeks in jail and get a rap on the knuckles." And at the time, they didn't realise that there was still another 49 million bucks that he had. So he did 6 weeks worth of jail, and he walked away with 49 million bucks. Thanks for coming. That's what we should have done, Luke.
I'm going to pull you back, Luke. Come on. I want to know, what are you telling yourself? So, maybe there are easier ways to make money. That's one of the stories mowing lawns, selling there's easier ways to make money, right? That's lesson number 1. What's lesson number 2?
Look, I'm play more golf. Take a break a bit more regularly.
You
can get
look after yourself.
Sucked. Yeah, definitely. Look, you can get sucked into the business where you just sort of focus on it being better. You want to not necessarily just boom the business and grow it, but you want to find ways to get yourself out to the market so people can buy from you more. And sometimes you just get consumed in that. So I'd definitely say go play more golf and take more holidays to be able to break away with it. It probably took me too long to realise that. So it didn't have a huge impact on our life, but it was a big learning curve to where we are now. And it's probably not the right time with the way the market and everything's going, but we're finally at a point with our kids and our life to be able to say, okay, well, we can take a break, we can take a holiday. We've got the company stable enough that a week or 2 away won't affect things. Whereas before, it's hard to let go. You're always on the phone, even if you take a break or you're away. You're on the computer, you're doing emails, you're doing orders, you're answering the call of business. We just took a 2-week break to Fiji over the school holidays, and it was the first real break that I just put the phone down, basically, answered nobody, got back to a nice, smooth operation. Nothing had gone drastically wrong, and I thought, well, why didn't I do this earlier? It's probably one of the biggest things that people in business do and don't do is just enable that sort of break more often. And people ask, if you could go back in your life, what would you change? And I think, well, nothing really, because I am who I am today because of everything that I learned and what I went through. And I wouldn't be the man I am today if I didn't make mistakes, if I didn't fall down, if I didn't know how to get back up. you know, if I kept making the same mistake again and again, well, then, you know, knock me on the head, and that's something you want to get out of. But, you know, I feel as though I've learnt from all of the choices that I've made within the industry, products I've chosen to stick with, support, you know, locations of business, how to operate it financially, all of these things. I've lost a lot of money, but I've learnt from losing that money on how not to lose that money again. You know, what's cost me, what hasn't cost me. But I wouldn't go back and say don't do any of it, because I wouldn't be where I am today.
It's not called the roundabout. It's called the solar coaster, right? So,
Yeah.
but
It's up and down for sure.
They're three absolutely sage bits of advice, mate. And I'm going to wrap it back up for someone. Consider doing something easier. If you're not up for the challenge right at the beginning, consider doing something easier. Go mow lawns. Number 2, play more golf, take holidays. So that's about looking after yourself, making sure that you don't burn yourself out, making sure that you take time to keep yourself mentally and physically well. And then the third one is learn, celebrate, and enjoy. So, you know, enjoy the ride. It's the solar coaster. Enjoy the ups, enjoy the downs, learn how to enjoy the challenge of all of that, and learn along the way so that you're not making the same mistakes again. You know, you could look up any book on how to be successful in business, mate, and I reckon those 3 things would carry you through. So well done.
I'd like to change tack here. Queensland government has opened the battery scheme. They've announced the details, and it's up to a $4,000 rebate for customers to go with batteries, a minimum of 6 kilowatt hours. There's a whole bunch of other details which pretty much align with when we discussed it a couple of episodes back. Now, my question to you, Luke, is just around battery rebates. First of all, do you see value in them as someone who sells more top-end products and quality products? And how would you structure it to make it most effective to, number one, get people to uptake the batteries, but also to make sure that they're getting good and suitable systems?
Great question.
I'm not really a fan of government rebates, even though we're heavily driven by the FTCs. I am glad, you know, I will be glad when they do go one day and it's just a level playing field. So, look, I mean, we get asked all the time, when's a battery rebate coming to New South Wales? Thank God I haven't heard of anything solid on the table coming, because then it just opens up a slather of cheaper products. Installers, how are they going to be managed? Yes, you've got the companies that can sell them, but then the installers who are installing them, but who's monitoring them?
In the Queensland case, it's mandatory inspections. So in line with Solar Victoria, any of these battery systems that receive the rebate will be inspected.
So having inspections is definitely a good thing. I do agree with that policy of installers being watched, but I mean that's a lot of people that are going to take up a lot of batteries, and then you've got to say, okay, well, all of these installs have got to be inspected. Who's doing the inspections? How many inspectors are out there? How fast are they going to get inspected? I think the uptake will be quite large, but my concern would be more around, well, then how happy is the consumer going to be not having their battery turned on for weeks at a time? Then the inspector finally gets there and says, no, sorry, you've got to get them back out. Then that installer's already busy installing 100 other batteries. He's not going to have time to get out. I just hope that they've got the program planned pretty well, and whoever's installing will be, I guess, strictly governed before they go out and install.
So let's say hypothetically,
maybe more accreditation.
Let's say hypothetically, there's enough inspectors and they all get switched on the day, and the inspection is after the fact. They can commission it. Let's say there's enough inspectors and that's not an issue. Let's say that they're perfect installs and everyone's doing it right. This is in a perfect world. Coming down to the battery rebates, you don't seem to be a proponent of it. Is that fair enough? And why?
Look, I guess it does help a lot of people, so it's not a bad thing. But my caution is more about not so much the public who will benefit it is if it goes wrong. So my caution is always as well. Battery companies come and go in this market. We've seen so many over the years come and go, and it's always the consumer that's left holding the bag, right? They're sort of sitting there going, "I took advantage of the scheme. I got a good battery. 3 years down the track, what's it going to look like? 4 years down the track, what's it going to look like for them?"
I heard the other day that Redback is now going direct to a lot of customers. They had a good distribution channel through AWM and other electrical distributors. So in going direct to market, is that a similar strategy to what Q-Cells did basically screwing over their distributors and going direct to market? And is that the next door that they leave the market, no longer relevant?
It shows concern when a big company starts to have to go to direct to market because they think the distributors aren't taking care of them. It goes to show what the market itself is doing. If the distributors can't sell it, then what makes them think they're going to sell it? I definitely think it's a good thing for those who want to uptake the batteries. I'm not sure. I haven't looked at the list as to who's on the list available.
There's 180 installers listed and about 30 or 40 batteries listed.
Yeah, I think it's going to be
right. And is Tesla one of them, or?
Yeah, Tesla's on that. It makes you wonder because some of the low-cost guys are going to go in there, slap in the cheapest battery they can get hold of, and depending when the inspections happen, it might not catch up with them by the time.
There's only 3,000 rebates.
Exactly.
At most, 2,000 I saw somewhere.
Is it a limited volume of availability?
Yeah, we've got well, there's 24 million in total, 50-50 funded by the feds and the state, according to a press release that I saw. And of course, it's going to cost them 10, 12 million bucks to administer it and put a whole bunch of people in offices somewhere in Brisbane to, coordinate it all and get the inspections happening and everything else. They're going to need, 5 million bucks or so for the inspections to pay for all of that. And then whatever's left over goes to actually adding batteries. So
maybe they could get an IOU from the gentailers in market. They seem to not be short a buck at the moment, Nige.
Yeah. So Origin Energy posted an astounding profit for the half year. What was it? $747 million of profit.
Hold my beer.
Up from 44 million last year.
But that's probably crazy. From all of the Fronius and Jinko packages that they're selling at.
I'll tell you what this is.
AGL was similar. AGL was similar.
Told as the plebs that our interest rates are going up. We're paying more on our mortgages. We're paying more interest everywhere we turn as businesses as well. The cost of living pressures are going up, but banks are posting enormous profits. Gentailers and energy retailers are posting enormous profits. So are they targeting the right end of the market? I'm calling bullshit. And I want to hear about fully charged. Karl and Nige, you went to Sydney. I'm sure Luke can add some thoughts here too, but you went to Sydney for the fully charged conference last weekend. Tell us about it.
So I was there for all 3 days. I was there representing iStore on a customer's stand, Good Earth Group. And I think that there was around 10,000 people through each of the 3 days. I think that at $50 a head, the number of people that are prepared to go. So if I was going to go with my wife or whatever, it would be $100 to visit for the day. So that may have constrained the number of people that were prepared to go to the event. So a really good turnout considering the entry fee to walk through the door. Apparently it was the largest collection of EVs available to drive that's ever been run in Australia. Penrith Solar Centre was there with Enphase. So whilst I didn't see Jake Warner, he did have a massive crew of people there. And he was the only solar business that was there aside from Good Earth Group. So good on him. They obviously spent some money there and they had a great presence. And the quality of the show in general, I thought was really, really good. Lots of workshops and presentations where people could talk about electrification and pass that information on to the consumer. And, of course, test drives of amazing motorcycles and motor vehicles. I didn't want to take up their time because obviously I've got one and I'm not going to buy another one, but I did test drive a GV60 Genesis, which is a 400 horsepower SUV, and I was blown away. I was excited. It made the hair stand up on my arms, and I thought, damn, I could have one of these. It's a great bit of kit. And, of course, that's the same for all electric cars. They're all awesome. And Nigel even got to ride some motorbikes. Tell us about those, Nige.
Yeah, I'll make 2 comments about the show. I only dropped in briefly on the Sunday. Firstly, I was only interested in the electric motorbikes. Less electric motorbikes there than previous years, which was a little bit sad to see, but zero motorcycles are back in Australia big time. got a new distributor, had all the new models on show, loads of test rides, which is great because I haven't actually ridden the brand new models of the Zero. So I got to go and thrash one around the car park for a little while, which was really, really good experience actually, but not good enough to make me want to sell mine and swap yet. So that was even better.
Am I right in saying that they had the e-bikes on the same track as the electric motorbikes?
They did. Yeah, you had to dodge. You had to dodge the electric push bikes, which was
like a
tricky.
slalom ride.
It was tricky, yeah, and it was. I'm glad no one was seriously hurt. Let's put it that way. The other part that was really, really interesting about the show, and Karl made the point about people paying, and I really liked that about this show last year. You got dedicated people who are really, really interested. But the thing that really struck me was the demographic, right? It struck me that there was, apart from, the suppliers and the Karls and Niges of the world, there was really two kinds of demographics there when I looked around the room. There was the 50 to 70-year-old energy nerd, quasi-hippie, energy nerd, obsessed about everything, and they're serious buyers, right? They're a prime demographic, but there was a real chunk of those kinds of quirky older people. But then there was a whole nother segment, which was, some families, but also quite a lot of families, in fact. But there was also a really young demographic there. So, and that was like the university nerds, right? The next generation starting to come through. The wow crowd. There was a lot of IT looking dudes,
Wow.
but there was some really quirky looking young people there who were just, I classified them to my family and said, there was, who was there? There was a whole lot of nerdy energy tech younger crew. And then there was the older crew as well. So it was a really interesting split in demographic to me. So, but clearly they're interested in the stuff.
Interesting that you should say that, because the guys on the Good Earth group were quite talented salespeople, and they could detect a nut job within the first 10 seconds. And of course, they all said, "Go and see Karl." I had all the nut jobs.
Now, we've worked together for years, and I've always called them Karl's crazies. He just collects all these people along the way, and it's it's good. No, but it's good, man. Like you've got the time for people, you have a deep knowledge, and you're happy to engage with them for long amounts of time. Not everyone has the patience or skills for that. So that's a compliment to you, man. That's not a criticism.
It's a valuable role you play in the industry.
I had
deflecting the crazies away from the rest of us.
I had the classic, which was we bought a wind turbine at the start of COVID, and it came with a grow watt inverter, and it doesn't work. And what do I need to do to fix it?
Call Lewis Shepherd.
Yeah, and I'm trying to charge my electric vehicle off it.
So I had electric utes and that there. That's what I'm keen for. I'm hanging.
There was utes.
There was utes. Definitely
trucks,
utes and vans.
Good.
Vans.
Yeah, you name it, they were all there.
What were the utes that were there though? Was it like the LDV?
Yep.
Yeah, not interested in LDV. Things like the Lightning or Rivian or stuff like that. If they come to Australia, then that's the stuff I'm sort of interested. I did get a price once on one of those Ford EV Lightnings. There's a company out near us that imports them and does a conversion left to right. We're having a chat. So he said, look, if you want to test drive it, we'll fly to Brisbane. There's only one in Australia, in Brisbane. Fly up there. If you buy it, we'll cover your air flight for up there and back, and you can get into this ute. And I said, oh, yeah, what's something like that worth? And he said, look, at the moment, it's on road for $275,000.
It's only money, Luke. Fuck it, do it.
And I thought, on what planet is anybody ever going to afford? Like the run-of-the-mill tradie, I mean, we've got Ram up the road from us at work, and they sell the $150,000, big boys and all that. And I still think that's ludicrous. But $275,000 for a work ute, I just wonder if that's sold or whoever was. It is. It's like, look, mate, I love the environment, but I just can't justify that. It's so that's why I'm keen to know what's coming to Australia, but also needs to be affordable.
There's some interesting stuff happening there. So I just happen to know a guy that's putting a Tesla large drive unit in a small Hino truck. that should be interesting. Little truck, 500 horsepower, Tesla battery sitting on the bed. That's a viable thing. I saw lots of delivery trucks at the show. So there's the Amazon delivery style gigantic white van scenario that didn't seem unreasonable. But the F-150, to roll the clock back to 2017, if you ticked a few boxes on your Tesla Model S, it was a $260,000 piece of kit. Those vehicles have been enormously enjoyed by their owners and driven around the country several times over.
They'll few and far between in the beginning, though. But yeah,
definitely
it'll be interesting to see that space coming down as we get into the future. I think Hilux has got an electric ute coming, or something like that. They're in development with.
Apparently, they're developing
hydrogen. It'll be fucking hydrogen, knowing Toyota.
Yeah. It was solid-state batteries. They're just around the corner, Luke.
Moving on from this point, there's going to be another show there in a couple of weeks, which Nigel mentioned. This one you don't have to pay for. So we've got the Smart Energy Council's conference in Sydney coming up at the ICC. That's
always a good show.
Free to attend. Always a good show. There's over 10,000 people registered. Another interesting note that I heard during the week was that it's run by the Smart Energy Council. They do all the registration and organisation, as opposed to using a third party. Now, the other shows use a foreign third party, which means they're making profits. It's going over there. Whereas if there are profits from these shows, it stays with someone like the Smart Energy Council, who's actively doing lots of good shit for our industry. So if you haven't booked for Sydney, get along there. Everyone I'm speaking to, from manufacturers to solar companies to interesting people, are there. I'm actually chairing one of the sessions. It's called Distributors in Conversation. So we've got myself, Liam from Supply Partners, Ruben from Green Tech, representative from Raise Tech, and we get to talk about a lot of the issues we talk about here, the things that impact pricing. And I thought we could do a concept. I thought boxing gloves is a bit too aggressive. Maybe we'll just get inflatable batons and knock each other over the head or something. But
perfect, do it.
To get to Sydney, there's lots of value for companies, whether it's your business or your workers. There's so much value there, top to bottom, wherever you sit in the industry. So really encourage you to get some tickets to Smart Energy Conference.
Yep. And we should do a live. We had a great live podcast there in a bar somewhere with a bunch of.
Oh no, that was Energy Next last year.
That's right. Yeah.
We did.
But
on the
I'm going to bring my microphone. Come on, we'll do another. We've got to do one of Smart Energy.
We do them at every show now.
We do them at every show. Good.
Should be good. And the other notable mention, thank you to the anti-renewable trolls, like these handful of people who turned up to Canberra, for jumping on our Facebook page, making wacky comments, and basically helping the algorithms push us further up people's news feeds. So thank you, anti-renewable trolls. You've helped with our SEO enormously.
Cost me a day of my life because I couldn't resist jumping over. I went on to all their Facebook pages and went after them like hammer and tong, just throwing some facts around, just to throw the cat amongst the pigeon, throw facts at them. It didn't get a single comeback. It was horrendous. I was going, okay, fact. No, nothing.
I may have pushed someone's button because someone dobbed me in and I got a 7-day Facebook ban 10 minutes after posting. So it's good. It means I've had some family time this week and I've had some time to do other things other than spending till midnight on Facebook. So, it's not so bad.
Well, it's a testament to the influence of the show, fellas, that any troll would even bother wasting 30 seconds on us. I think it's fabulous.
So there's not time for much more. So thanks, Luke Spicer from Skyline Solar, for coming on. Before we wrap up, though, we'll just go around for any last comments that people want to throw in, and we'll start with Karl.
Well, let's see. I did a renewable energy group in Ballarat last night that were been going for 12 months, and I listened to 5 people speak that were absolutely terrible public speakers, and I encourage people, if they're going to volunteer to do a speech in front of a group of 40 people, to rehearse first. So it turns out that an event like that is something that we do for the community. It's unlikely that we'll have any personal benefit, or the businesses that we work in will have any personal benefit. But if someone of those 40 people got some benefit from that gig that I did last night, then that's all worthwhile.
Good community service. Well done, Karl.
Yeah.
What about you, Nige?
I'm going to drop one in. We mentioned last week about the impending changes to the solar panel labeling and standards approval that's going to be required by October 31st. I'm just going to say this. If you are in the solar industry and you believe this issue is going to negatively affect you materially, right? It's uncomfortable. It's always uncomfortable when module brands change and standards change and you get dumped off a list and you got to move some product. That's always a little bit uncomfortable. That's life, right? When things change. But if this is materially going to affect your business, start screaming at the CEC product approval panel and committee now. The short version is the Clean Energy Council, the vibe that I'm getting from the Clean Energy Council is, as far as they're concerned, no one's worried about this. It's not going to impact anyone too much. If it is going to affect your business, you need to start jumping up and down now. You need to start coming with facts. You need to start coming with material impacts that it's going to have on your business if you think there's any chance of any changes occurring. Do not leave it any longer. Get in now.
If there was someone that we happen to know that signed up for 600 megawatts of panels from a particular manufacturer over a 3-year period, and that just turned out to be a couple of containers a day, then there's no getting past the fact they've got shitloads of panels in the country, and that's going to be a huge problem.
The hope should be that we get a products accreditation body that's actually engaged with people on the coalface, that they would know this stuff without you having to beat them over the head with it.
Yeah, here.
And Luke Spicer, before we go, mate, it's been great to chat. Here's some of your story and you've given us some good advice and some of that wisdom there. Do you have any last comments you want to make?
No, mate, it's just been an honour to be on here and glad I got a chance to chat with you guys and look forward to the next one.
Well, don't forget, Luke, we are looking for sponsorship opportunities.
I've got my letter into Hanwha for you guys as we speak, so we'll wait and see what happens there.
Yep, there'll be a rebate deal from Hanwha for sure.
That's it.
Awesome.
That's it.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, Karl Nige, as always. It's been great. Thanks, Luke. And thanks to you guys for listening. We love the feedback we get, and you can help make it a better show and more relevant to you. So keep reaching out. Subscribe, like, share. We'll catch you next time.